Alrighty then. Hello, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Voices in My Head with Basil Sands, where he talks about audiobooks and audiobook stuff. And we have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Hilary Huber, and she is an audiobook and voice acting person extraordinaire. Oh, the door is being knocked upon again. Who is knocking on our door for the second time in as many shows in the middle of introducing the show? I don't know who it is, big brother. Let me take a look out the window and... Uh-oh. What uh-oh? Police uh-oh. You mean we should call the police kind of uh-oh? No, I mean the police are already here uh-oh. Oh boy, Neely. Do they look mad or merely inquisitive? Well, the corporal looks like he just wanted to stop by and say hello, but his partner, on the other hand, does not appear to have what one might refer to as a sunny disposition. You mean he looks mean? Kinda like his favorite hobby is making grizzly bears cry. And they've got that building inspector with them, Gail or Gary or something like that. Alrighty then. Open the door and let's see what they want. Evening, officers. How may I be of assistance to you on this fine and beautiful Alaskan evening on which we've done absolutely nothing that might be construed as illegal or even, in so much as we understand your American traditions, rude? Except for Buffin's occasional escape of flatulence while out shopping, but he's got a doctor's note for that if you need to see it. I see. Well, first, let me introduce myself. I'm Corporal Neal with the Anchorage Police Department, and this is my partner. Oh, he's a big one, isn't he? I see on your name tag it says, D-H-E-A-T-H-E. Now, how do you pronounce that? Death. Oh. We're here to investigate possible threats made to Municipal Building and Construction Safety Inspector Terrence Mortimer Gales VII last week. Threats? Your butler threatened to eat me. Okay, just a moment. Bertold? Yes, Feely? Roll the show. Okie dokie. Well, hey, folks, we are here with Hilary Huber today. Hilary has been doing commercial voiceover for almost 20 years. She has voiced national companies for Toyota, Birdseye, Mercedes, Tylenol, Walmart, McDonald's, Ford, Boeing, Taco Bell, and countless others. Boy, that's a lot. I can't even count those. Hilary has live announced several award shows, including the Emmys and the People's Choice Awards. Hilary has recorded close to 250 audiobooks spanning many genres. She is a multiple audio award finalist, multiple earphone award winner, and was twice named as AudioFile magazine's Best Voices. Hilary has a BA in English literature and is a voracious reader and listener. Raised in conservative Connecticut and hippie Hawaii, she has a unique perspective. She splits her time between Santa Monica and New York, most of that time in a 4x4 padded room. A booth. And I've got a deliciously dangerous picture of Hilary that we'll put up here on the screen as well. And that is a dangerous looking. I don't know.
Is it?
It's like a cross between a pirate chick and a Navy SEAL and some kind of CIA thing. I like that.
I was in Palm Springs.
That's a beautiful picture. And
Thanks.
so, Hilary, you've been around a lot, and by
that doesn't sound so good, does it?
Yeah.
You've been around a lot. Woo.
You've been doing stuff. You've been a busy lady for these last 20 years or so. What got you into this whole voice work thing to begin with? How did you get started here?
I got started the obvious way, I think, by being told my whole life that I had a interesting voice. When I was 19, I sounded like I do now, which it's not so weird now that I'm a lady of a certain age. But then it was kind of weird, to be a kid and have this sort of deep, throaty voice. And I took a lot of acting classes in high school and college, but I never wanted to be an actor. I just did it because I enjoyed it. And I thought it was super fun, but I never had any, raging desire to be on the stage or the screen. And so I never really did anything with it after college. I did a bunch of other sort of bounce around jobs for a while. And my husband was in advertising, still is a little bit in advertising. So I was around a lot of ad people when we moved to Los Angeles. And they would always say, you should be doing voiceovers, you should be doing voiceovers. So I took a bunch of classes, and I did.
What kind of classes did you take for it?
My first classes were actually through the Learning Annex. Are you familiar with the Learning Annex?
Mm-mm.
Oh, they had it in New York when I lived in New York, and obviously they had it out here too. It's like everything from gardening to cooking to voiceover to writing, just dancing. I took dancing classes. I mean, all kinds of really random, bizarre classes that they offer, through independent instructors all over the city. So I took a couple classes with a DJ in voiceover and made a demo and tried to get into the business. It took a while, but anyway, that's how I started. I just decided I'm going to do voiceovers, and
I should check and see. We have something like that up here in Alaska. It's called the Alaska Cooperative, and it's through the university system. But most of what they teach is related to homesteading and living in the bush. But they have other stuff too. You can randomly pick up an English class or an acting.
Yeah. I took a swing dance class through them. I took children's book illustration. I haven't done it in a long, long time, but
so did the swing dance class inform your audiobook performances as well?
I don't think so. That was a long time ago. So that was just commercial. That was for commercial work, not for audiobook work. And then I did that. I did commercial work for probably about 13 years before I started doing audiobooks.
Really? Mm-hmm. How did you? They're completely different.
They're completely different. They're completely different.
How would you classify the difference between the two?
Well, one, you have the potential to make a lot of money, and one, maybe not so much. One, you are in and out in a short period of time. One, you sit in a chair for hours and hours on end. One, you're shilling health insurance and Slurpees, and the other, you're telling beautiful stories and acting and being characters and hopefully leaving something beautiful behind on the earth. They're different. I mean, they're obviously different in performance also.
Right.
One is a real sales job, and one is a storytelling job.
Right. I wish the big paycheck could land on the storyteller side of the job.
Yeah. You know what? So do I. So do I.
For fun, but then again, that's just the nature of things.
It's a lot more fulfilling, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. What did you do before audiobook narration?
Oh God. Well, before any kind of voiceover?
Or before voice work.
Yeah. I catered for a while. I had a little catering company. I worked for a publisher in New York, but like a art book, like note card calendar sort of publisher, not a literary publisher. And when I moved out here to LA, I live in LA. I had a decorative painting company for many years, and I did murals and sponge painting crap. Marbleizing, stuff like that when it was kind of hot in the 80s. And I did that for a long time until I didn't want to do that anymore. And then I did voiceover. I worked for an environmental consultant, and I sort of did a bunch of...
kind of like a jack of all trades.
Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
And that's what I was going to ask. Were you doing all those different things because you didn't know what you wanted to do next, or you just wanted to sample everything?
Oh, probably a little of that. I mean, when I graduated from college with an English major, what do you do with that?
Yeah, you need to be a writer or an English teacher.
Yeah, teach. So I worked for this publisher for a while, and I've always liked to cook. So I thought maybe starting my own catering company would be kind of fun, but it's not so fun. And I've always been a bit of an artist, so I thought painting would be kind of neat. And I think I just explored things that interested me until I realized I don't want to do this anymore or full time or.
Right. Have you ever thought of combining them all? You could be like the storytelling caterer painter. You could paint with mashed potatoes and gravy,
I
while
think we
you're
all
telling
have
the
to wear
story.
a lot of hats now, but that sounds complicated.
But if you record it, you never know. You could
I'm
hit
trying
that
to think
niche
of some
audience.
kind of YouTube channel I could have. So maybe there's something there.
There
I
you
could
go.
read the stories while cooking. I don't
There you go. You could be Justine Wilson
know.
and do the Cajun catering storyteller. A little bit of wine for the sauce, a little bit of wine for the cook. Now, so with doing the commercial voiceover, you said you did that for about 13 years before you got into audio.
I still do that.
Yeah, I mean that's a good bread and butter thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's you can make some serious butter for your bread
Yeah, yeah, you can.
if you get the right stuff. Especially being in LA or being in New York where the bread is being baked. As
Well, but that's changed so much. I mean, that used to be
mm,
critical when I first started. You had to be New York, LA, or Chicago, really.
hmm
And every audition was either at your agency, which was even relatively new then, that agents
mm,
were casting. And a lot of it was, at casting directors. I mean, I drove all over the city
mm,
um, all week long going to casting sessions. But with the advent of home recording, that has radically, radically changed the
mm.
commercial voiceover world. And you don't have to be because you had to be in LA, New York, and Chicago for the jobs as well.
Right,
Not
right.
only not only the auditions, but now you don't. You can be anywhere. So it's really radically changed. I mean, you're in Alaska. You can work as much there as I can here.
Exactly. And 20 some years ago, when I first got into it myself, doing voiceover work, uh, the people that I was working for were constantly telling me I got to move to LA to get the big jobs. I mean, I had enough jobs to pay decently up here. I wasn't making my full-time living off of it, but all I could do was local stuff. There was nothing else
Yeah.
I could do, and because I had to go into the studio here, which there's like 2 studios in the entire state, and all the customers involve the electric company or the state government or something like that. So it's kind of pretty small arena. Um, when you first got into doing it from a home studio, were you like one of the innovators? Did you jump right into the home studio thing, or did you take some time and continue working at other studios first, or
For audiobooks?
for commercial or audio?
Oh, no. Well, I didn't. No, my first home studio I set up to do audiobooks.
Mm,
And that's how I started, was recording on my own, essentially. Um, and so I didn't start working with outside producers until a few years in.
mm,
I recorded everything in my own studio, which was kind of weird because there weren't that many home recording audiobook
mm,
narrators at that point. There were some, but
right.
not like there is now. And commercial, I don't work out of my studio that frequently. I audition out of it a lot, but I don't really work out of it that much. I don't have an ISDN line, so
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like to get out if I can. I'm scared that if I get an ISDN line, I'll never be able to leave again. Well, no, that makes me sound like I'm working all the time. I'm not working that much commercially. But do you know what I mean? I
Right.
love going to a recording studio. They have
Rather
really
than
good
being stuck in that
snacks.
padded room.
Yeah, they have much better food than I have. And it's just fun to go out and hang out with people. And also just have some FaceTime with them instead
Right.
of just an anonymous voice on the phone. So I would much rather go than do it at home. In fact, I used to have my studio in my house,
Mm-hmm.
and even that started to flip me out a little bit. And now I don't. I have it I have an office that I go
Oh,
to.
wow.
Um,
I think that's a good idea. I've talked to some other narrators and some writers who do the same thing. They rent a small office space somewhere else,
mhm.
and just for the sake of getting up at 8 in the morning and going somewhere.
Yeah, well,
And,
not 8 in the morning maybe, but yes, getting up and going. And also because I'm much more productive that way than I
mm,
go and I work and I finish and I leave. Whereas when I'm home, I was like, wow, I wonder if the mail came. I better go look.
right, right.
Everything's a distraction.
Yeah, I've run into that. Kids, pets, spouse,
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
just kind of,
exactly.
oh, he's home. He could do some other stuff too.
Oh, well, I
Yeah,
better change the laundry. That's important.
yeah.
Did I make the bed? I don't know. I'll go look. So it's much better for me that way.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea. Um, what kind of for new narrators coming on, I mean, you mentioned all the changes and the different things that are happening
in this industry, what kind of recommendations would you give to new narrators as to, someone who's getting started now versus back when you started, 10, 13 years ago?
Well, it's such a different world. I mean, it was so much harder
Mm,
to. I mean, audiobooks I've only been doing for about 7 years, 8 years. It was just there was not ACX. There wasn't as much accessibility to home recording.
hmm
I mean, there was, but just people didn't know about it as much. The world is so much more open um, to new narrators than it was then. It was when I told people I did audiobooks, they were like, "What? What do you mean?" People didn't even know what that meant, really.
Right.
They was like, "You mean books on tape? Those things that you get at the library? You read the whole book?" And it just wasn't, especially people in the voiceover industry had
Mm,
no concept of it. And now it's just the world has opened up so much. There's so much more accessibility. So I think having the desire to be a narrator now, you have a much better chance to actually get some traction and
mm,
get some books to record. But that being said, it requires somebody who has the gumption to run a business and to
mm,
go out and go after it. I mean, the difference between the commercial world that I came from, and this has changed also. I've always had an agent who got me all the auditions, and that's
mm.
where I got all my work. So I never had to sell myself. I never had to be put on my marketing hat or my PR hat and try and get work. It just sort of came my way. I just had to win the job.
hmm
But in audiobooks, you have to go after it yourself. My agent doesn't want anything to do with that. They couldn't care less.
Wow.
Um, and
Why
so
would you say that is, as far as the agents not caring about audiobooks?
well, I think first of all, my agent is pretty old school, and the amount of time to run those. First of all, also in LA, I don't think there's that much work comes through the agents. In New York, I think that's a bit different. New York producers hire through agents a bit more, but I think it's a time issue for them and a money issue.
Mm,
There's not that much money in it. They're not going to make that much for the amount of work it would take to run those auditions.
mm,
That's long auditions. And I think that it's just a numbers game for them.
hmm
But since the world is changing so much, who knows? Maybe they'll enter. I'm sure if somebody came to them and said, "We want to do an audiobook," they're not going to say no. But I
Right.
just don't know that that opportunity comes knocking on their door. And I don't think they're going to go after it.
Right. And, making 15% of a $4,000 audio book that takes
10%,
10,
10%.
10%,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
takes
So they're going
50,
to make
60
what?
hours to
400
produce
bucks? Yeah.
versus the $100 a minute or
Yeah. Yeah.
plus voiceover stuff. Now, it'd be nice is if we could make $100 a minute for audiobooks.
That would be
That would,
awesome. And if you figure that out,
even per finished
it's
minute.
our secret.
We are going to
Our
rule the
secret.
world.
Yeah,
I
but so
actually got my
new
hat.
narrators need to they need to have the ability to knock on doors, to accept rejection, to keep going and have stick-to-itiveness.
Right.
And they also, I think, need to have a lot of patience and acknowledge that there's a lot of training involved and a lot of learning that has to
hmm
happen. Just because you can read a book to your kid doesn't mean you should be narrating a 10 or 15 hour audiobook. I
Right.
mean, I think that's a real misconception in voiceover in general. Oh, I've got a great voice. I should be doing voiceovers. Do you have any
Right.
acting background? Well, I know, but I have a great voice. I should be doing voiceovers.
Right.
And sorry, can you hear that?
Oh, that's
There's
okay. It adds color to the thing.
I hope they're not coming for me.
I had the same thing happen on Johnny Heller's interview a couple months ago. They were like right outside his window. So,
Dangling the cuffs.
yeah.
So I encourage anybody who wants to enter any aspect of voiceover to study a little bit, and so
Right.
that when you do go out into the marketplace, you can really put your best foot forward. Because I don't think you get that many chances.
hmm
You put out a crummy demo, or you do it, you get a job, and you don't do a good
mm
job at it. You don't know what you're doing. You're not going to get another opportunity. So
Right.
just like there are technical colleges all over this country that teach people the skills to do a certain type of job. And voiceover is no different than that. You're not going to go become a mechanic without learning how the mechanics of a car work. You can't go get in front of a microphone without learning how to act and how to utilize your voice.
Right. Interesting. That's a good analogy. I hadn't heard that analogy before. We're going to write that down and copyright it.
Okay.
What for that training? What kind of training do you recommend? I mean, there's a lot of different things out there, from people that do things that they call a master class, and others who are actually masters at the thing who have a similar master class. And there's studio training. There's one-on-one training. What type do you recommend?
All of it. I mean, you're going to learn so many different aspects of the profession. Everybody's going to teach you something different. And I don't think there's any wrong education at all. Even if somebody is teaching you something that you don't think is applicable, at least now you've realized, oh, that's what I don't want to do. So there's no wrong education. I think group classes are terrific because you get to see other people failing and succeeding, and that's super valuable. When I have taught, when we get people into the booth to read, I always want the other students to be in the studio listening, because that's when the magic happens.
Right.
And, is when somebody else is in there and you can hear the criticism that's been given to them, or the encouragement, that's anything. And it's much easier to apply it in that situation when you're the one sitting in the booth behind the microphone being told, no, do it this way, do it. I don't think it sinks in the same way as when you're actually observing it. So I think group classes are great for that dynamic. And one-on-one classes are terrific if there's particular things you want to work on. You want to work on accents, or you want to work on your promo delivery. So I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with any kind of teaching. You just want somebody who's experienced, who's done the work, who has hopefully taught before. I mean, that's common sense, right? Right. I think going to workshops are great. Going to conferences are great. I just presented at a conference, the Midwest Voiceover Conference, a couple weeks ago, in Columbus, Ohio, and it was, I think the bulk of it was about sort of pay to play, Voices 123 and voices.com, and because most of these people are in Columbus, Ohio, or somewhere in Ohio, and there are a lot of the folks there had really thriving voiceover careers, and they're doing it completely differently than the way I approached it. And I learned a lot. I sat in on a whole bunch of the panels, and you can never stop learning. I learned a lot. It was great. Right. So I think conferences are terrific too.
Well, that's great to hear, that even someone as experienced as yourself can go to something and learn.
You can never stop learning.
Yeah.
That is probably the biggest mistake anybody can ever make is, oh my God, I've learned everything there is to learn. No.
Right.
Never.
A couple of weeks ago, I was at APAC, and Johnny Heller had a pre-APAC workshop, and it was awesome to sit in there with a whole mix. I mean, there were some who had got maybe one audio book under their thing, plenty of folks like myself with 70, 80 audio books, and then some of the big names, guys like Bob Sauer, who's been at this for a long time, that were sitting in the audience learning. And
that's right.
Wow, we're all sitting here absorbing the same thing in different ways and watching each other stumble a little bit and just having a great time. And, it's awesome to be able to learn that way. And
yeah, I wish I'd been there. It sounded like a really neat.
It was a lot of fun. It was my first time.
Going to APAC?
Going to APAC and being in New York City, both. And
Woo!
It was a little overwhelming for this country boy. So. But it was a lot of fun. Matter of fact, I'm going back next month for Thriller Fest, since I'm playing my writer hat as well. So get to see it from both perspectives.
So it's a thriller writing?
Yeah, it's the International Thriller Writers Convention, titled Thriller Fest, a week of doing all similar stuff to APAC, but from a writer perspective, A lot of
That's
workshops, a lot
terrific.
of classes, a lot of fun.
I mean,
And I'm going to be shilling
I think
myself.
things like conferences are so great because you have the opportunity to learn from the people who are presenting the panels, but also
Right.
from your peers. That is so
Mm.
valuable, talking to your peers.
Oh,
And especially in the audiobook world, I think it's a real generous group of people who
very.
want to share and care. We care so much about our industry
Mm.
and preserving the quality of the work in our industry.
Right.
And I think that makes it quite different from many other areas of
Hmm.
acting.
You know, that
Um,
was one thing that I noticed there, that there wasn't the feeling of competitiveness
yeah.
among the crowd. It's everyone was there to hang out and chat, and you know, you had virtual nobodies like myself rubbing shoulders with Simon Vance and Scott Brick and laughing and joking and having a great time. And
And realizing these are just nice guys who like
yeah,
to read books.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's not filled with stars. And
Right, right.
everybody's so generous. I think it's great.
Now, along that similar line of relative nobodies versus
You
greatnesses like
stop calling
yourself.
yourself that.
Well,
That's
I say it
ridiculous.
relative because it depends on what planet you're on. There are some planets in which I'm very famous, and I'll be the first to make that up. The You and I, it sounds. You said you've been at this 7 or 8 years. We've been at
Uh-huh.
this about the same amount of time. You've got 250 plus books. That's a lot of books during that period of time. I got about 1/4 of that,
Okay.
or 1/3 of it. Um, How do you go about getting work in the audiobook industry?
Um, well, no, I'm not that persistent. You know, I started really slowly. I started working for Blackstone Audiobooks only, and I was very lucky to get to work for them right off the bat. And so I only recorded for them for maybe 2 years or so,
Mm.
and I did maybe 4 books, 5 books a year. You know, I started slow, and then I realized, you know what, I want to do this more, and I just, gosh, it's hard for me to even remember. I think I started by going to APAC. Actually, I
Mm.
realized I've got to meet other people. I've got to meet some of these other producers, and I'm a very reluctant salesperson when
Mm.
it comes to myself. I'm not great at marketing myself and talking about why somebody should hire me.
Hmm.
But what I'm really good at is PR and going to a cocktail party and making friends with people.
Mm.
And so a situation like APAC was great for somebody like me because there's so much opportunity for socializing.
Right.
And so I went about meeting people socially and asking questions about them. And, you know, the most interesting person in the room is the person who asks you about yourself,
Hmm.
right? You ever heard that?
Oh.
Um, and through that, I sort of forged what I felt were kind of friendships. And
Mm.
then I would follow up with, oh, by the way, here's my demo if you ever want to hire me. And so that has kind of worked for me. Because like I said, I'm never the one to walk up and hand out a bunch of
Mm.
stuff. It's uncomfortable
Right.
for me to
Right.
talk about myself too much. Which is also, I don't, did you participate in the speed dating? Did they have
I
that?
I did not. I did not.
Yeah.
Not
That
this year. Next year I might.
that's a just I'll explain that a little bit for anybody who doesn't know what that is. It's a panel that they introduced at APAC two. I think this is the third year it's been done. And the first year you had to have recorded over 100 books and won an award, I think. I
Mm.
can't remember what every year the criteria changes a little bit. It was very stringent the first year. And it was speed dating. So there were, you know, 20 or 15 producers and then a bunch of, and it was very limited. The
Mm.
first people to sign up who met the criteria were the only ones who got in, narrators. And you sat for, I think you had 4 minutes to talk.
Mm.
And then you moved on to the bell dung and you moved on to the next one. And that was great for me because it
Mm.
was so focused and um, I didn't have to feel like I was overselling myself because that's all the 4 minutes was about was
And it wasn't an
this is what I
audition.
do.
It was
Here's
just
what,
a
yeah,
chat.
It was just this is what I do. These are the genres I like. This is how many books I've done. This is where I live. This is what my studio is. Ding, move on. So that was kind of neat. But so anyway, so just this is a long-winded way of saying I just slowly started building relationships with other publishers and producers and slowly started amassing more work and then using that as kind of a catapult to say, here's a good review I've gotten. Here's what I've been up to. I'd love to narrate something for you guys. And slowly I've developed good relationships with a lot of producers. There's still some I don't work for, and I would like to, and I'm still slowly hammering away. But I've been very fortunate to work a lot recently.
That's pretty cool. Now you've done strictly voice work since you started doing it, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because there's a bunch of us out there, and I know part of my thing is like what you said. I don't like to sell myself very well, or let me rephrase that. I don't sell myself very well. It's not that I don't like to. I just haven't got around to doing it really. And then working a daytime job on top of that kind of puts the kibosh on doing 2 books a week.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well, that's what most of us have to wear, a lot of hats. So that's common, especially in the audiobook narration.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But if you love it, you just keep doing it.
That's right.
And let's see. I asked that question. I got this other question here. Here's a question for you. If you could go back in time, what would you do differently related to your voice career?
I would, to my voice career, I would,
Or we could expand that even further. If there's
no, I don't want to talk about regrets. Of which I have none.
Oh, cool.
You know what? If I could go back, and I don't know if I would succeed in doing this, but if I could add another color to my palette, I would have really liked to focus on animation a lot more, and worked a little harder to sort of break into that arena because it's so much fun. But I sort of hit the ground running as a talking head because based on the equipment I have. I was announcer girl right off the bat. You announce. That's what you do. You announce. And I had success doing that. So I was like, all right, well, this is what I do. I'm an announcer. And I had some opportunity to do a little animation here and there, and it was so much fun. So I think I would have, if I could do it again, I would work harder and do more training and loosen up and get a little weirder and wackier and try and be an animation girl.
That's something that I have always wanted to do. There just are no opportunities up here, and I'm not willing to move to LA.
Yeah, you gotta get in the studio to do that kind of, which is why it's fun.
Oh,
like
yeah.
The few things I did, there would be 7 of us in the studio, and it was so much fun.
That just sounds like a blast. I mean, I've even got to the point where I thought maybe I'll write my own animation, have one of my sons do the artwork, and I'll be the characters. I
don't know why you don't. You're a writer. That's a great idea.
Exactly. My current series of fun little books that I just started, my first comedy venture, is really lending itself in that direction. So I'm teetering at the edge of seeing if my
that you're writing the books that you're writing.
The first book that I'm writing that's not a military thriller where people get blown up. This one's leprechauns and trolls and big stuff like that. So it's I'm actually teetering on the edge of having my son do some animated sequences and see what we can do.
God, yeah, and then pop them up on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it might even be
following
Minecraft style, but it'll be something.
Oh, great. No, it doesn't matter. Look at South Park.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The most basic animation there is.
That's it. A lot of fun doing that kind of stuff, though. So my leprechauns had some questions they wanted to ask you. I've got leprechauns that live in my crawl space.
4 leprechauns?
4 of them. They're brothers, so
what do
I
you
can
feed
count
them?
them as one, sort of.
What do they eat?
They are a handful of people, and they're my production assistants, so I have to let them in on this, or they'll screw up the intros.
Okay. Right.
So here we go, boys. You want to come up and ask some questions now?
Okay, Mr. Basil, we'll be right up there. Okay, come on, boys. We got some questions to ask Miss Auber. Okay. No, it seems like, hey, Mrs. Auber, you're a nice-looking person, and you have a wonderful smile. And hi,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Auber, this is Bertold. I'm the youngest of the brothers, and I think you sound like Lauren Bacall, and if you weren't married, I'd propose to you, because I like that sound. It's
Thank you,
kind of like
Bertold.
it's kind of like a verbal snuggle every time you talk. So, anyway, while my brother's done flirting with you, he flirts a lot with the lady narrators that we have on here, so you have to take him with a grain of salt. The rest
All
of
right.
us are much more serious, like this question. You've done a lot of moving around in your life, from Connecticut to Hawaii to California to New York, and so we've got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
My second brother, Neely, has the first question.
Hi,
Hello,
Neely.
Mrs. Auber.
Hi.
You have lived in New York. Have you ever been to Old York?
No, I can't say that I have. Have you?
I passed through there once, but the police were on our tail, so we had to keep passing. So, but other than that, it's a wonderful place as far as I could tell, especially the underground tunnels that we escaped through were very, very nice, much neater than the ones in Ireland. So, okay, well, that answers my question. So Buffin has the next question. He's our
Okay.
third brother.
Okay.
Hello,
Hi,
Mrs.
Buffin.
Huber. Of the places you've lived, which is your favorite and which is your least favorite, and why?
Okay. My least favorite is the first apartment I lived in New York City. It was a fifth floor walk up over a pet store on First Avenue.
That's a lot of walking.
It was a lot of walking, a lot of hauling your stuff up. That was my least favorite. And my favorite is Long Island, where I go every summer. I go to way out Quogue, Long Island, and I grew up there in the summer, and it's a real family sort of family town, very multi-generational, and it's a very special place. And that's my touchstone.
Well, here's a question for you about Long Island. Since the Earth is a globe and length and width are perspectives, how do you know it's not actually Wide Island?
Well, I don't. And actually, if you look at it on the map, it probably does look. It goes this way, so it's probably wide, not long. Very good question.
I wonder why they named it that way. Maybe it was to keep the spies confused. Okay, I have Feely, the older brother, has another question for you.
Okay.
Okay, this is Feely. And if you had a time machine and or a teleporter, when and where would you like to go?
What's the difference between a teleporter and a time machine?
Well, a time machine takes you back and forth in time. Like you could go to yesterday or tomorrow or sometime 20
And
years
I guess
ago.
I don't know what a teleporter.
A
I could go
teleporter
anywhere
just
right
puts
now.
you in a physical place with the blink of an eye. Kind of like Scotty on Star Trek. You know, beam me up, Captain Kirk.
Got it. Okay, so if it were a time machine, I would like to go to Gertrude Stein's round table.
She had a round table, did she?
Uh-huh. No, her salon, Gertrude Stein's salon. The round table was Dorothy Parker actually, at the Algonquin Hotel.
Oh.
So maybe I'd like to go there. I'd like to go there, to the Algonquin Hotel, to the round table with Dorothy Parker and all the authors and listen to them wax poetic and put each other down and be witty.
That would be very interesting, to get drunk with a bunch of witty people like that.
Right? Yeah.
So, okay, well, that's very interesting. Okay, so Bertold has the last question for you.
Okay, Bertold. It's hard to keep you guys straight.
Okay, well, it's easy to keep us straight. I'm the one without a beard. So the rest of them are kind of the same. If you had to identify yourself by your favorite food or drink, what would you be? For example, I was thinking something like along the lines of a Hillary Teeny or a Huber Chelada or maybe like roast duck a la Hillary or the chef's special ooh la 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 chillery on a bed of rice pilaf with flame roasted asparagus and wine.
Those all sound pretty good to me.
Okay.
I don't know. I like an old fashioned, but I don't know how you
Oh.
turn that into my name.
Let's see. That would be Ye Old Hillary? No, that's
I don't like that.
that would be Sweet Thing on the Rocks.
I'll take it.
Okay, there you go.
I'll take it.
You're easy like that. I like that. And we could have roast duck and sit on the beach while we're drinking the Sweet Thing on the Rocks.
That sounds perfect. Perfect. And look for the rainbow.
There you go. Because at the end of that, well, actually, we don't keep our pots of gold at the end of the rainbow. We don't even keep pots of gold anymore. It's all in a safe somewhere in Tennessee. Because that's the safe place. It's the International Leprechaun Bank System that we
Okay.
use. But we have teleporters to take it out of there real fast if we need to. Because the IRS sometimes is after us, but we're exempt.
You gotta watch those guys, because you're leprechaun, because you're wee people.
That's right, we're wee people, and when you're less than 3 feet tall, it's amazing what you can escape with.
The IRS can't see you.
That's right, that's right. Well, thank you very much for enjoying, for us being able to enjoy this time with you, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Very much.
You're a very informative person, and I hope you have a great vacation when you go back to White Island.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
I'm going to start calling it that.
All right, guys, go back to your work, and the front lawn has to be mowed, so go get that started. And thank you very much, Hillary.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Basil.
Great conversation and very informative. It's great to talk to someone, like yourself, who's made a success in this industry, in both in voiceover and in audiobooks, and in a relatively short time in audiobooks, has careened right on up to the top echelons there.
Well, I don't know about that, but I just consider myself very fortunate. I love what I do. I love all the people I work with. I think it's the greatest job in the world, and that probably has something to do with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're, it's not a struggle or a job or penance for me. It's a joy. So I'm fortunate, and I don't forget that.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, and I hope you have a great rest of the summer.
Thank you. You too.
All righty.
Now, as we were saying, your butler, that giant thing, left me standing out here in the rain and threatened to eat me. Okay, just a moment. Let's get Gerald here to answer for himself. Gerald? Oh, that's not necessary. Oh, there he is.
Yes, Mr. Feely.
Remember Mr. Gales from last week?
Certainly I do, sir. Well, I'll be. Is that you, Deaf? Francis Eugenia Deaf? Gerald, you're still alive. Indeed I am, as you are, in a manner of speaking. This case is closed. Gerald would never threaten to eat you, Mr. Gales.
But he did. He specifically said we'd love to have you for dinner.
Gerald is a strict vegetarian.
Really? But I've seen you eat an entire caribou in one meal, Gerald.
Yes. My mum always taught us that the best way to get all of your veggies is to only eat those things that eats only vegetables. Isn't that right, Francis? Yes, Gerald. And don't call me Francis anymore. I go by Death now. Right. Death it is. Well, we'd certainly still love to have you all for dinner. That is to say, we would like to have you join us for dinner.
So, if Gerald is a vegetarian, I guess that makes me a tablearian. A tablearian? Yeah, I only eat whatever's on the table.
This show once again has been copyright 2015 by Sandman Production Studios of Alaska and Basil Sands. And even though it seems to have gone off-kilter a little bit and may have gotten inexcusably silly, I am not a cannibal, and I can prove it to you. Here, come here and stand next to me, Mr. Gales. See, I am not eating you. Therefore, that proves I am not a cannibal. Have a wonderful day.